Thank you, Mr. Gideon. It's been a pleasure having you here. So, please, I would like you to introduce yourself for many that don't know you. So, please do that.
Okay. So, my name is Gideon Owolabi, and I'm into a few things, but to the context of what we're doing here, I'm into neuromarketing, and I'm a brand and sales strategist. So what I do is I use neuromarketing, which is the way the brain thinks, the way the brain processes things, and then branding to develop strategies that generate sales for clients. That's exactly what I do. Simple.
Okay, so thank you. I don't know if you can tell us a bit about branding ourselves as individuals and as businesses, as a career person, just as individuals generally.
Okay. I'll try to make this as practical as possible. I'm not a theory person. I like to get the work done. So, sorry, what's your name?
Esther.
Esther, what do you do?
I'm photography intern.
A photography intern. You? I'm not asking you. You? Web developer. You?
I'm also a developer.
Web developer. You?
I'm a UX designer.
You are good. You? Everybody's tech. Please, where is the food people? I love food. Okay, then a pastor too. Then, okay, jokes apart. I'm trying to understand my audience. Now, the first thing with branding is that you need to understand your audience. It's not about you. Nothing is about you. I could start blabbing here and start talking about how good branding is and the awesomeness of branding, but that's rubbish. Don't let me. Sorry, I'm a Gary Vee fan, so don't let me call myself out here. But that's total rubbish. Branding has nothing to do with how good your pictures are. Branding has nothing to do with how wonderful you look. Branding has nothing to do with. That's everything to do with the number one human nature, which is being selfish. People are selfish. I used to tell people your About Me page and your About Me on your website has nothing to do with you. If they cannot connect with you, it's BS. People want to get to the point where nobody cares about you. Just accept it. That's why we wear beautiful clothes to impress people. Because if they actually do care, we don't have to. That's why we want the best cars. We want to ride a Tesla to make people think that we are intellectually, we are high on the intellectual level. That's why we make all those amazing posts. Because they don't care. But we're trying to connect with them to make them to care. That's why we have to look so good to be able to attract the side of people we want. When they come to your About Me page, nobody wants to know another guru. Nobody wants another guru. People hate guru. If you were not among the first three in your class, you would actually have hated those first three. It's normal. So, nobody wants another guy. If another guy comes and is for me, I'm so and so. Aside the respect that is trying to command from you, at the back of your mind there is this bias. The only way you can connect with him is also if you're on that level, or you aspire to be on that level, or you see, okay, people respect him for this, so you want to have the same result he has, so you can get the same thing. You don't even care about him. You care about having what he has. That's how it works. So the first thing in branding is that it's not about you. It's about your customers. So that's why I had to figure out who I'm talking to. That's the first thing you need to do. So I did something just now. I said, what are you into? You said photography intern. You're not a photographer. You're not into... You create beautiful memories. Now, the first thing about branding is... I can come here and say I'm a lawyer or I'm a neuromarketer. I first of all did that. Then I changed it. I had to explain it to be able to connect with you. At the end of the meeting, somewhere at the back of your mind, you're like, okay, you're already figuring out how I could help you. That is how branding works. It's about connecting with the person. If they can't connect with you, it's nothing. Nobody cares about how awesome you are. So even when you're writing your About Me page, don't say, I am so and so, I do this. tell the story in a way that it connects with the audience. Kill yourself. That's the first thing. When you're writing about me, remove the eyes, the I. Make sure you have less I and more you. So you're trying to tell, you're trying to create an impression. The impression is not about you, it's about the audience and connecting with them and the goal you want from the impression. Do you want them to like you? Do you want them to buy from you? Do you want them to respect you? You can brand for many reasons. Now, people say they don't do branding. Branding is, everybody does branding. Branding is simple. Whether you're intentional about it or not, you're already branding yourself. People already have an impression about you. You can't change it. So the only thing you can change is the way they think about you. You mentioned an example of how people call you pastor. You must have done a few things that must have gotten them to the point where they feel like, oh, this guy must be a pastor. So they could connect with it without even telling them you're a pastor. Few months ago was a friend's birthday and everybody was shouting. Everybody was saying happy birthday so and so. He didn't call himself that name, but he did something that made everybody call him that name. You have to be intentional about what people call you. Now, you're not doing it for yourself, you're doing it for them. You don't want them to have a scattered idea. You may be thinking this person is into this. Okay, what if I introduce myself? That's why we actually even have names. I introduce myself as Gideon. I have like 4 or 5 names. And God bless you if you're from a Yoruba house. You should have like 6 or 7 or 10 because your grandmother will name your great grandmother. But you just are permitted to have 3. First name, bank will even allow you. Middle name is optional. And your surname. But if you are on your first bank account, you have Akindele. Your FCMB account, you have another name. 5, 6 brands, 5 different banks. You'll not even be able to get a BVN. It's as simple as that. So branding is about creating an identity. Sometimes it's not just one, but it's about singularity, bringing everything to one single image of what they want. So some of us are black. Sorry, we are a darker shade of white.
Nice one.
So we're not too white, because we're not light, but we are light of the world too. So we have that, and imagine in the morning you are black, afternoon you are fair. What's going on?
How can I describe it?
Exactly. So that's what we are doing with ourselves. When it comes to branding, you have to have one single image. What do you want to be known for? We can do a lot of things, but what do you want to be known for? So you have to pay attention to that and get it right. So I want you to do something. I don't know how much time I have, but I want us to do something again. I want you to reintroduce yourself here again. So I'm going to show you how to do that the right way. Now this introduction itself is a class. This is very interesting because the first thing you should know about branding is what people should know about you, right? And you need to be in charge of that. So as an intern, photography intern, you don't just create photography. What did I say you do?
Create images.
You create images. I think I've done this in the other... Who was here? Okay, nobody. You create images. And images are memories. Images are perception. So if you tell me you create amazing images that I will cherish for the rest of my life, damn, I'm going to look for you next time. Now someone say, okay, photographer, one of them, or I make shoes, one of them, or I create footwears that get you to, that open offices for you. Hello? Pastor, I speak spiritual words into your life that give you clarity in the morning.
Glory to God.
Yeah, simple. Just web guy, right? I create amazing products that brings customers for you. I'm talking about a website. I create an amazing address that tell a story about your brand and make customer connect with you and make them to trust your brand. Because when you have a website, the value of trust increase. Sometimes you just have to go over this, take time to coin it, but you need to have this mantra. It's not about, oh, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor, I'm a engineer. No. Nobody cares about that. People care about how you can connect with them. So you need to start defining those things. So you, can you just come up? Yeah. What do you do? Following that formula.
Okay. I'm a software developer that creates amazing softwares that brings trust and makes people connect to you more than you can think of.
Okay. Thank you. That's a nice try. Amazing. Someone should give him a round of applause. So yeah, a software developer can come in and say, I make your dream come true with tech. Let's say you want to create an Uber. How many of you have gotten I want to create an Uber with a Taxify structure of business and a fried rice budget? Yeah. You've not started. Okay. I do not tell you they want you to sign a non-disclosure agreement before they even talk about it, and they don't have marketing budget. Okay, I'm not going to go into that. But just think about something that will connect. Now, the thing with this is, it's just like a proper CV. The first thing I did here was I said, I tried to make sure by introducing myself, I made sure it's tailored to what we're talking about here, branding, right? So it's like a CV. Okay, this is free. Like a CV. I think I should start doing HR. Like a CV, per job, it should be redesigned. I tell people, you don't send CV, give me your CV, and you say, no. You figure out the job, and you redesign it, you rewrite it. You figure out if they need more experience, and you put up your experience first before even your education. Figure out what they need for that particular job. You don't send the same CV to different people. Just like the way guys should know that you don't even use the same line on different girls. So why are you doing that with your CV? The same thing with your introduction. It's tailored to exactly what you want. If you think she have a beautiful smile, you have a beautiful smile. Good, it has to be original. Same thing with what you're doing here. So you can have different, but figure out how it connects to the person. It should never be generic. Branding should never be generic. As big as brands are, they try not to even make it generic. As simple as Nike, as other big brands, Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola even did a bottle with your name. So why are you trying to be generic? Who does it help? You love it when people call you your name and they don't call you a generic. Hey boy, it looks so informal. Same thing with your CV, same thing with your branding. Generic to the clients. It should be tailored. Okay. So I think that should help for now, and I'll hand over the mic.
Okay, thank you very much. So he mentioned the fact that we should connect with our audience, and that it should not be all about you, but it should be all about them. So let's make it very important to actually connect with our audience. And so we'll take questions right now. I know we have questions. Please, I want us to take questions. Questions, please. Okay, so
Thank you very much for sharing so much. Okay. I make hadire, and this is one. I make hadire. So, how do you convince so much people to perceive what you do? Because trust me, it's not actually easy putting your products out there, and people will start pass by. So how do you convince people to perceive what you are perceiving? Since you said it's more of them than us. Do you get what I'm saying?
Okay, something I didn't mention. Branding is not just about perception. Branding is 20% perception, 80% communication. You think you're a billionaire, But how do the world see you? Because you don't have $1 billion in your account or in assets, the world doesn't. You can't communicate that you're a billionaire. And this is why, for us to, we think we are handsome, we look good, but for us to prove it, we communicate it with the way we dress. You love someone, and for you to communicate your love, you have to show it. And I think this is where we have issues connecting the dots. Communication. So I'm just going to teach you the easiest way to do brand communication. Who can guess what it's going to be? I like suspense. Good. Who? Let me give you a clue. It's the same thing we'll be talking about all day here. I walked in here and I saw you talking about it. It ends with Y. And sorry, it's not your why. It's not a motivational speech.
No strategy.
Yeah, strategy, but it's a strategy. But what strategy? I'm talking about the easiest one. It starts with an S.
No idea.
Oh, I love this. Story. Oh. Yes, this is what I wish I could see Steve's face.
Storytelling.
Yeah, storytelling. For me to be able to buttress my point, what do you think I do? I used to love stories. Telling stories, in fact, it's so simple that we naturally do this thing. Story is actually the most convincing way to sell anything. I have a course on how to sell anything, and the first thing I'm going to teach you is how to sell with stories, because the course is quite expensive, and if you can figure out how to sell with stories, you can pay for the remaining of the course. So it's actually cool. Selling with stories, the thing is, stories have techniques. And if you're a movie person like me, you'll see this thing. It's in every story. For every successful movie that sold billions, it's about the story. Forget about cinematography. Yes, it's part of it. Forget about the whole thing, but it's how they were able to tell the story and the story. That's how we rate movies, especially in Africa. We don't even look at the guests. Who cares about what they use and the whole? It's about the story. The story we can connect with the more is the one that gets our mind. For example, is Black Panther.
That was what was in my mind.
That was the first. I mean, you could connect with Black Panther more than any other Marvel story, because it's Black Panther and it's something that has to do with Africa. You could see it. So how do you tell stories? There are ways to telling stories, but the story should. Okay, I'm just going to make some extra. The first one is to use a compare and contrast story. Before I jump into the different type of stories, the first thing about stories is this. It's not about you again. And our parents are doing this very well. When they want to tell you not to eat mango and water and drink 7-Up again, what did they do? That same broadcast will have a story of someone who did that. I end up dying.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it. Story past anything. Some of you may not remember some points, but you can remember some amazing story your pastor told you on Sunday. So anytime you want someone to remember a story, people are 10 times likely to forget facts and remember stories. Anytime you want someone to remember your brand and you want to play with their memory, tell them a story about it. Or if you want to scare someone, let me tell you a story. That's why when people want to, even in movies, when they want to scare someone, when they want to threaten, they don't just say, I'll cut them. They'll tell you They'll tell you a story about something, and they'll imply it. So if you want to sell, the first thing you need to do is use stories. So what's the story you're telling? I'm not talking about the fine. Create stories. Sometimes you have to make it up. It's called friction. Now these stories, the first method, the thing with stories that most of us don't know how to tell stories. So they'll be like, yeah, stories is good, but I don't know how to tell story. I'm not a storyteller. How do you tell the stories? The first thing you need to know is the first one is, I call it the compare and contrast, where you bring in the good guy and the bad guy. So you tell someone, before I started this, I tell a story of how two people walked into the same situation, and one of them was wearing your adire and the other was not. And the one wearing the adire got the job. I was able to impress the girl. And the one wearing the adire was able to, because it's African inspired, was able to get extra attention than the normal polo t-shirt. The one wearing the adire was seen as more creative, because only a creative person will go this style. Look at it. So tell stories about how this thing, and don't make them, people don't connect with logic. That's why you pitch for contracts and you fact and figures will make sense, and they'll tell you, I'll get back to you. And someone that did not even do all the fact and figures like you, probably connected with the person at the bar the previous night, is the person they are giving the contract to. Why? Because at the bar they were sharing stories and they connected. People don't deal with logic, people deal with emotion. People are emotionally connected to things. So till you can get your brand emotionally connected to them, you have no place in their mind. So tell stories. Tell story of two people who even in your slides, tell story of two people who started it up together, the same situation, and one of them is doing better, and make sure your product is the reason one of that person is doing better. That's compare and contrast. There's another one called the superhero, someone who came and saved the day, someone that was in trouble. The superhero is simple. You had issues. Okay, let me talk about a car. The superhero is, we actually do love a superhero because we can connect with the superhero. We want to be the superhero. Someone is in trouble, and I also want to use Yadire. She's trying to go for a date. Tell a story of Tade. Is Tade a girl's name? No. Okay, let's use Joy. I love Joy. So we have Joy. Joy is trying to go for a date, but she doesn't know what to wear. And she started spending so much money on expensive clothes. And she's exhausted her options. The guy she's trying to impress is her crush. Finally, he asks her out. She doesn't know what to do. Till her friend Gina comes in. And Gina tells Joy, I have a plug for you. I have something for you. Try this. And Gina tries your adire. And she crushed the date. Maybe there are other reasons the dates went well. They connected. But not Tade. Joy was so confident because she wore your adire. She knew she was in good. So she could make the necessary eye contact. She could connect with him without second guessing her look. See, there's something about second guessing your look. And that's where the emotion is. It's a normal story till you bring in second guessing. People can relate with when you're, is this clothes fine or not? You will not be comfortable. And when you're comfortable and confident, you crush anything. And that's what's going to happen when they wear your adire. Tell those kind of stories. Craft them. Take your time. You'll be fine.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Gideon. So he mentioned the fact that we must be intentional about emotionally connecting with our audience, and that our brand is about 20% perception and 80% communication. So it should not just be connecting with our audience should not just be logical. It should be emotional, and that we should find a way to penetrate to their heart. And so with this, I don't know if we have questions online. Okay, please, in the next 2 minutes, I want you to answer this. We have to round up.
Hello, my name is Timileyin. So I just want to ask a question on the storytelling you said. I feel, I don't know, won't too much storytelling or something just bore someone? Like, I feel it should also come with what you see or something. I mean, you could tell a story about, like you said, how you saved the day and that. But if the person does like seeing whatever you are trying to put out, I feel like it should also, like what you do or what you make should also, call the attention of person. No, I'm just talking based on
Very visual process.
yeah.
I made a note earlier when I entered here. The thing is, just didn't pick up my notepad. I want to use the same words I use. Yeah, a photograph is different from a picture. I asked if you're a photographer because we think pictures and photograph are the same thing. when you're telling stories, the first thing, there's a popular TED Talk I'm going to give you a link to. Tim should know about it. Talks about how the brain reacts when we tell story. When we're talking figure and facts, the brain is totally different. But when we're talking stories, when I was telling the story of the Adrian, or your brains were imagining almost the same thing. If we put an MRI scan on your head right now, if I tell a story, you'll see the same thing. If I tell you a story about Tim's car now, you picture the same thing. Now, storytelling works with pictures. It doesn't have to be a photograph. A photograph is captured picture. A photograph can be a memory, can be a description. Sorry, a picture can be a description rather. A photograph is different. A photograph is a still image. But a picture could be me telling you something and making you to imagine something. I'm painting a picture. So when you're doing that, you're actually painting a picture in your mind. And the funny thing with pictures is that they are not seeing your story's character, they are seeing themselves. When I'm telling a story of the lady that was very confident with the Adire, if I'm a lady reading that story on Instagram as an article or as a post, I'll not be picturing that lady because I don't know what she looks like. My brain will be picturing my own self. So my brain will be picturing me and not just any other person. So pay more attention to the picture. Does that answer your question? Yeah. Are you sure? Okay. Any other?
Okay, do we have more questions? Yeah, Mr. Mayowa.
All right, thank you very much, sir. I want to ask, if you are doing two things and then you want to brand the two, how do you go about it in a way that it won't confuse your audience?
Define two things.
Let's say you're into two businesses. Okay. You're a realtor and then you also sell stuff like maybe clothes, and there are two contrasting things. How do you brand both of them together?
What make you think they are contrasting?
Well, I don't know. I just feel
this is actually what you're doing is that you're running away from your sweet spot. What makes you special? The fact that you can do those two things. So when you say they are contrasting, they are not. That's actually your superpower. When I started out, I'm good at UI UX. I'm very visual. I'm very good at those things. I was a programmer. I had a lot of things. So the question was, how do I sync all of them? And if you know the tech world, you have to be one. How do I sync branding? How do I sync marketing? How do I sync programming? In the long run, I had to drop some for some. But when I consult for people, I'm thinking from the three aspects, from all of them at the same time. So I'm developing brand strategy, and I'm thinking on how the website will look like. And I'm thinking about the designs, and I'm thinking as a designer, if I'm developing something, I think about, as a neuromarketer, I think about, okay, how does this design, how would it react with marketing? There's some nice designs you give me, I'll throw it away. It's not that it's not good, but it doesn't convert. Conversion, it doesn't get the customer to do what I want to do. So for you, as a realtor and you sell clothes, right? How do you position yourself? How do you create? You have to create content that sync the two. So you sell clothes, but you know something. You can come up and say, okay, I know how people who buy so and so properties dress.